Yeah,
What do you
so
what do
they keep me young.
no doubt. What do you remember most about that reaction when the 900 number came out?
Well, I didn't really, me personally, I didn't really care for that song, The Posse is Large. So that was one of them joints that I did that I didn't really listen to a lot. But people liked it,
Right.
different hip hoppers, they liked it. Different people came up to me like, yo, I heard that joint you rhyming the, 900 number. It was cool.
Right. As far as the Flavored Unit compilation album, is your sophomore album completed about this time, or are we working on the Flavor Unit album before your sophomore album?
I think I was done. I think my album was done. You talking about the one with Drez and all of them on it?
No, the one with you and Apache passing the mic.
Oh, okay. That's that one that came out on Tough City. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if my second album was done at the time when Mark did that or not. I know what you're talking about though. Flavor
You
Unit
remember?
Assassination Squad with all of us on there. That was
Right.
the album cover, cheap album cover with different fruit and stuff on it. Yep.
You have vivid memories of what that session was like with so many MCs recording that album.
Just a bunch of fun. It was like us. We were still in the basement, but in the studio in New York. That's all.
Right.
Everybody was there that session. Every Flavor Unit member was there. So that was incredible right there. To have us all in the studio at one time. Yeah. 45 King pulled that off. He made the beat like, yo, I want all of y'all to rhyme to this. No problem. We did it and it was a pleasure.
What were you guys able to tour off that album as a unit?
Nah, no.
Oh,
Mm-mm. Only person that really toured out of the Flavor Unit, well, yeah, Latifah, Apache, and Naughty. We would go out with them when we could, but they the ones that was really on tours. I
right.
think they actually met Pop from the first tour Latifah was on. Latifah was on tour with Kane and them, and I think Digital Underground may have been on that tour, and Tretch and Apache was on the road with Latifah, and they connected with Pac out of Digital. I mean, all of them was cool. Money B, Shock G, all of them. They all cool. I love all of them brothers. But Pac is the one we gravitated to, and he
Right.
gravitated to us. So once that relationship was established, it never tarnished. Definitely.
You talked about producing on your sophomore album. At what point did you get into producing?
Well, I started producing actually after my first album. I was always amazed at how Mark made these beats. So I started asking him questions after a while. What is this sound? He's like, well, let's call it a kick. What is that sound? This is a snare. What is this? That's a hi-hat. What are you doing here? He's like, look, you want to make beats? I'm like, yes. So eventually I would just watch him, and then one day I got the courage to make my own. I was in the studio one time and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna lay no vocals today. Let me experiment and see if I could come up with a track. And I made a beat. I had sampled something from the Temptations, and I played that joint for Latifah and Mark, and they was on it like, yo, you did this? I'm like, yes. They was on it, and that was all the inspiration I needed. I started kept making beats from that point on. And Mark had a brother named Louis, my man Fat Cat Louis Vega. He actually produced 1, 2, 3 on Naughty's album. And if you look, he produced The Style is Free for me. He also did Your Arms Too Short to Box with God. Louis was into making beats. He made beats as well. So a lot of times when Louis was in the studio, I would watch him, just honing my craft, watching Louis. At that time, I had only made one beat. By the time I was working on my second album and I did Need Some Loving, I had a little more experience with making beats. Uh, I had met Diamond D through 45 King. I was always a fan of his from the first time I heard, what was the joint called? I think he had a song called I'm Not Playing. It was him. I think their name was Ultimate Force at the time. I'm not sure, but it was him and his man Rob. And that track was amazing to me. So when I met Diamond, we connected, and the rest is history, man. I learned a lot from him too. Like being in the studio watching Diamond work, I had the opportunity to watch Q-Tip put Gangsta Bitch together from scratch. I had the opportunity to watch Large Professor put together Hey Girl from scratch. So me sitting right there at the mixing booth with them, a lot of times Patchy and them, they all in the other room like, Lock, what you doing? Like, yo, I'm learning, I'm watching Q-Tip work. I want to see why Tribe Called Quest shit sounds so hot. I want to know why Large Professor shit sounds so hot. So I watched them. And I learned a lot of tricks of the trade from just watching them work. I would ask questions and they had no problem with letting me know what they was doing. So this is how I ended up actually co-producing a joint for Diamond's first album, song called Fuck What You Heard. I had
Mm.
made some beats one day. He was in Calliope studio working on his album. And that's what we used to do a lot. It was at a time where I'm striving to get out of my deal. So I'm not really rhyming at this time, but I am producing, honing my production craft. And Diamond was up at Calliope Studios working on his album. And it was at a time where, I would just make beats and I would come over there with a cassette tape with about five of different joints on it. So I'm playing the beats for Diamond. As soon as he heard that bass line, boom, 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 he's like, yo, what's that? What you doing with that, Lock? Can I get that? I'm like, yeah, sure. He's like, for real? I'm like, yeah, no problem. I've done that with Diamond. You know what I mean? I ain't want no money for it or nothing. Just on the strength of him being my man.
Wow.
Straight up. Yep.
That's a fun fact that a lot of people didn't know. Co-produced on Diamond's debut album. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Fuck what you heard. Yep. No,
We
I
can
got a
go
pound of herb. I'm still nice with the
with,
words. My
oh,
man Sadat. Peace
yeah,
to the gods and the earths in the
no
entire
doubt.
universe, and peace to man, woman, and child. I know so many people. People are like, yo, why you don't shout out, man? I'll shout out man, woman, and child. That's the universe, the sun, moon, and stars that encompasses every human being on the planet. So I ain't missing nobody.
Yeah. If we can backtrack just a little bit to that sophomore album, what was the game plan and what kind of adjustments did you make from album number one going into your sophomore album?
Well, I had the game plan for that sophomore album. Actually, I had wanted to. It was all about going to Egypt, man. It was all about that album. Like with that right there, I wanted to go to Egypt bad. It was at a time where a lot of things was happening in the communities, in the surrounding communities. If you listen to the song "No Justice, No Peace," I touched on it. I touched on the Tawana Brawley situation. I touched on the Yusef Hawkins situation. So it was a lot of different things going on that I wanted to get out to the world, and I also wanted to expose people to one of my brothers on the mic, the God Tashin. I think he's on the song Brothers in Action. So that's basically what it was. I was just eager to put out another album. And now that I look back on it, I feel like I should have took more time with working on both of them albums. However, I have no regrets. I'm grateful that I was able to put out an album and the people like it. I'm respected to this day. So I
Right.
take it with humility.
What kind of advice were you getting around this time from the 45 King on this project?
Well, on that second album, it was at a time where I was really honing my production craft. So he would give me things, but I think 45 King at that time, he was focused on a deal. I think he was getting a production deal through Warner Brothers. At that time, he was I think managed by Benny Medina. So he was more so concentrating on that. But he laced me with a few tracks and
Right.
the rest is history.
What kind of
In
response did?
fact, I got a not to cut your wisdom,
Yeah.
but I have a one of his last recorded beats that I'm gonna release. Diamond was like, "Yo, you need to put that on all streaming services." So I'm working on some treats, man. I feel like the world needs another Lakim project. I get so tired of hearing the stuff that's out here, man. For
Absolutely.
real, some of it is just I'm like,
Yeah. Please save us. Um, so what eventually happened with the sophomore album? What kind of response did you get from that?
it was cool, but it wasn't as a big a response as the first album. Definitely not. Not as much. It didn't have the impact that Pure Righteousness had. And after that second album, I really went full fledged with getting up off of this label. So it was a lot going on at that time. The current events that was going on, me striving to get off the label was just a lot.
Right.
Took a lot to get up out of there.
Right.
Actually, like 5 years, but I got up out of there. I'm grateful, you know. And to this day, my relationship with the president of Tub City is cool. Aaron Fuchs. One thing I could say about Aaron, for him to be a older Caucasian man, he knows beats. It was never a point where I went to Tub City and Aaron Fuchs would pull out a box with about 50 45s in it with songs I don't know these artists, but you play each one and they had beats.
Mm,
Aaron Fuchs was known to collect some good records, so definitely.
right. Once the deal with Tough City's over, were you able to leave with your masters?
Actually, I'm striving to acquire them now.
Okay.
Yep. I'm striving to acquire my masters now, and that's looking good. Actually, he actually reached out to me and let me know that the people from Power were interested in using some music from my previous works. So he kept me informed with that, and that worked out pretty good. So I'm grateful for that. They actually played the God Unique was doing something in the living room on one of them episodes, and on the TV screen they was playing the video Lost Tribe of Shabazz. And then on another episode, I heard it real low, but they played the whole song. This joint I made called The Hands of Fate. That was a song I made dedicated to my DJ. They also played that on Power. So I was grateful for that. I'm like, wow, they played my whole joint. Somebody in the Power camp checking for me. Maybe it's M, because M always propping me. Maybe he said something 50-50. I'm pretty sure he's familiar with me. Joey Badass is probably familiar with me. And you figure the show that they doing, they highlight Supreme being a member of the nation. You looking at that day and time, this was probably one of the videos that he actually watched. The
Right.
God, Lakim Shabazz, Allah. See, they always leave Allah off the end. Yet it was Lakim Shabazz, Allah. Now it's Lakim Sharik, Allah. Took Shabazz out my name back in '93.
Uh, so
Yep.
so once that deal with Tough City was over, where did Lakim find himself?
Just grinding, man, working, perfecting my production skills and really delving into my culture. I took time away to really like focus in on the 5% nation, the seriousness of it, because like I said, when I first got the teachings, I wasn't being walked through this the way you're supposed to be. That came years later. Once I connected with a brother named Prince Naquan of Law, he introduced me to an older brother named Born of Law, who was very instrumental in uniting the brothers, the 5%ers out here in Essex County. Through Prince Naquan, I met a guy named Supreme Elevation Allah. And Elevation is a good brother. I've been with him ever since. And through him and Prince Naquan and them, I was able to get walked through these teachings and get taught it the way it was supposed to be taught. So yeah, that's basically after the tough city situation. It was more so of a thing where I didn't want to sign with nobody. No, it was more so I was managing my nephew at this time. He was dancing. I don't know if you are in Naughty by Nature's video OPP. You see a little kid in there dancing. That's my nephew Shateen.
Wow.
He was real hot to be little like that. The first time I ever performed at the Apollo Theater was on the Pure Righteousness album. I had him out there dancing for me, and I'm performing. I don't know what dance steps he doing, but I knew as a little kid he danced like Scoob and Scrapping him. And I'm
Wow.
talking as a little kid, he had all of these moves down. So I knew once this audience get a look at my nephew dancing, they gonna flip. I knew it. So I'm performing Black is Back at the Apollo, and I just heard this loud roar in the crowd. Everybody stood up. So I'd keep doing the song, but I knew in my mind, my nephew done did something behind me. For him to be that little, to see him dance the way he's dancing, I knew they was gonna be on him with that. But my DJ actually said, "Yo, he did a flip, he did a semi, came down with a split, got back up and started dancing." I'm like, "All right, that's what wowed the crowd." But yeah, man, I was managing my nephew, uh, building my production skills and still doing music here and there. It was at a time like the brother I mentioned, Prince Naquan Law, they had a group called One Great Mind. The God Prince Naquan Law, my brother Kaya Mathematics, my brother Just Power, another brother named Takim, another guy named Algier. So I was doing a demo with them. They had, and we was shopping the deal for them. That ain't never fall through, but they sound good though. Actually, to this day, me and Naquan still record together. It's my man. Yeah, we got a joint out there. So got some treats. I'm gonna hit the hip hop world with, definitely. It's
Okay.
imperative. They need it, man.
Yes.